Paul Unig still can't believe it as he walks through the ruins of the houses. He lived in the Dominican city Santiago together with several other Haitians and Dominicans with Haitian roots. Until the immigration police came, he says, and smashed everything to pieces. It's important I tell you this, but if the Dominican police found out, he says, my life would be in danger. I have a wife and children in Haiti. I don't want to be killed here. Those kinds of patrols are no rare occurrence. The policy for undocumented immigrants is to deport them. But even those with papers face discrimination, says Kelleen Vincent. Of all the people I know, she says, the Dominicans are the biggest racists of them all. We all have the same blood. But they live in two worlds. Early in the morning, we drive to the Dajabon River on the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Two countries on the single island of Hispaniola. Tens of thousands of Haitians stand at the border bridge and wait for the guards to open the gates. Most want to go to the Dominican market to shop or to sell their own goods. But many, says Father Regino Martinez, want to stay here. And they're a thorn in the side of his countrymen. The relations between Haitians and Dominicans, he says, are marked by prejudice, anti-Haitianism, racism and xenophobia. We think of ourselves as Spanish and European, while they're Africans, slaves. But the Dominican Republic benefits greatly from the cheap labor, as much in the interior as here at the market. The Dominican Republic is far from wealthy, but when the Haitian migrants compare it to their home country, it looks like the promised land, where earning good money is easy. For decades, the Dominican government invited Haitians into the country to do the construction and agricultural labor that no Dominicans wanted to do. More than 80% of the workers at banana plantations come from Haiti. Guest workers have been in the Dominican Republic for 100 years. But there's always been conflict between the two nationalities. René Crisnel has been in the Dominican Republic for 6 years with his wife, 2 children and his sister. He's worked in construction and the sugarcane fields. His meager income pays the rent on his wooden shack and for food. René never leaves the farm except to go shopping. It's too dangerous, he says. They've all been robbed, harassed or beaten. And he can't go to the police. We're living here illegally. We could try to register, but my employer won't confirm that I work here. That's why they wouldn't give me any papers. We could be found out at any point. We're constantly living in fear. Far from the banana fields in the capital, Santo Domingo, politicians are delighted at the arrival of some foreigners. More than 4 million come every year as tourists, and the money they spend is vital to the economy. But politicians don't feel the same way about Haitian immigrants. They even changed the constitution in 2010 to deny citizenship to the children of undocumented immigrants. What I want you to understand is that a situation has been building up for years, says government spokesman Roberto Rodriguez. And we, the Dominicans, have decided to create order. That's it. We're in a situation of perfect coexistence. That order proved catastrophic for Juliana Dequispierre. She's the daughter of a guest worker. She was illiterate and is now learning how to read so she can become a teacher. Juliana was born here in the Dominican Republic, and that made her a citizen, just like her daughter Nairobi. But when she went to renew her passport, the authorities confiscated all her papers. I have to stay much longer, she says, so I can study and do everything to become a teacher. Now, at 24 years old, Juliana is stateless. Without papers, she can neither work nor travel. She can't even prove she's Nairobi's mother. Juliana takes us to her Beiti, That's the word for the settlements outside the cities where many Haitian immigrants and their descendants live. That much she can stand. But now Juliana says they're robbing her of her identity. Her mother lived her entire life here without papers. But Juliana's children, born on Dominican soil, got birth certificates and citizenship. They say I'm not Dominican because my parents are foreigners who came here illegally. But I don't know anything else. I say even if our parents are foreigners, I don't feel like one. All I have is my birth certificate from here in the Dominican Republic. It says I was born here. If I was born here, I'm Dominican. Government spokesman Roberto Rodriguez says every country decides for itself who's allowed in its borders. He says the Dominican government is being accommodating. And the Haitian government has a very positive attitude, he says. There's been a lot of support from the international community, including the EU and the UN, to help provide Haitians with national IDs. The Dominican government even offered to create centers here on Dominican soil, where the Haitian government could give national IDs to its citizens. Juliana was just one of many who lost Dominican citizenship after a court ruling last year that was based on the new constitution. She's since become the subject of a lawsuit against the government, saying the ruling breaks international law. Juliana is a legal limbo. She's truly stateless because she's not receiving the protection of the country in which she was born, nor protection from any other country. The authorities are assuming she's Haitian. But Juliana has never been to Haiti. She hasn't even been to the border. She doesn't know anyone in Haiti. She has no ties to Haitian society. Authorities have counted about 230,000 people who are affected by the revised constitution. Many are organizing themselves, taking care not to show anyone their papers out of fear that they could be deported. There are really serious problems. There are young people who can't go to university. There are young people who can't get an ID so they can get a loan from a bank. They can't get social insurance. They can't get a passport. The old constitution didn't require me to be legalized because I was already Dominican. Now I can't be legalized. But I was born a legal Dominican. This group calls itself reconocido, or recognized. All are Dominicans whose parents or grandparents were immigrants. Many have already had their papers taken away. Felipe Fortinez still has his ID card. He's a lawyer, and his walls are covered with a number of certificates and degrees. He's afraid to leave the country. If he loses his passport at the border, he also loses his right to work. He has 3 children to feed. Now he's trying to prepare for the worst. These kinds of campaigns never end well. Because when you teach people to hate, when you teach to deny people's humanity, there comes a point when feelings turn into actions. That's very dangerous. These people are running a systematic campaign of hate every day. And sometimes you don't know how far it will go. The hate has taken root among many Dominicans. This nationalist group films us out of mistrust, but they make no effort to hide their views. They've massacred our people. They're beating us up. Bit by bit, says this man, they're pushing us out of our own country. But we're going to fight back. We can live in peace, says this woman, with them over there and us here. Their slogan is Ciudad Limpia, or a cleaned-up city. These kinds of xenophobic groups are cropping up across the country, and they want to bring their government's policy to every last village. The group's president wags his finger, saying, "Too many Haitians here." We've given them access to all our services, he says, hospitals and schools everywhere. I'm showing you so you can see where they live, how they live, what their situation is like, and the conflict between the Haitians and the Dominicans. Anti-Haitian groups like this one ignore the fact that many here have Dominican birth certificates and are only living like this because their Haitian origin prevents them from finding housing anywhere else. The self-proclaimed city cleansers are also not bothered by the squalid conditions of the slums, only that they are close to their own homes. This woman, Luz Brito, takes us to the market to show how important their work is. Look around, she says, they're all Haitians here. The people she so aggressively points to can do little but look on in disbelief at her brashness. Her rhetoric seems designed to pin the blame on the victims of the racism by accusing them of a similar slander. In their own minds, they think the entire island is Haiti. So they call us the intruders, that we're not even from here. Juliana finds it terrible to live in a country that doesn't want her. She doesn't know what will happen to her or her children. But if the authorities try to deport her, she plans to fight. I know our parents were foreigners, but we don't feel like foreigners. We all feel Dominican, like all other Dominicans. And we're fighting for our rights.
Porque nosotros estamos luchando por nuestro derecho.